Got hiccups, but
Okay, and we're back. We're here. It's time for the top 30, folks. We had some crossover, three crossover. Bernardo said 10, but I have a feeling, I have a bad I was feeling all right when we get to the top 50, but then he got three. If he gets three again, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. So go ahead, sir. Start it off. What's number 30?
30 is Pyramid of Penguin. This is a family weight game where you are either the penguins or you are the kind of mummified penguin. And the goal is they move. You have this board that's covering so the bad guy can't see your pieces. Your pieces can only see the little square for the bad guy, which is a magnet. So you're moving your penguins to collect all the items that you have. When you collect all the items first, you win. While you're all the normal penguins trying to avoid the evil one, you also kind of want to be the one to collect all your items, so you can screw over other players to not get theirs before you do. But if the mummified penguin gets a certain amount of attacks on your characters, then they win. So it's smart because they can see the opposite side of the board, which will tell you what items are where. With that being said, if you say and reveal, I got the purple whatever, they now know where you're at, which means they'll get an idea of the vicinity that you're going for, because you only get one purple item, so they'll know where you're not going. And they can plan ahead, and you roll dice, which your dice can get locked up with the mummy symbol, which if it does, you can give it the mummy can give it back to you by giving yourself that much movement, which will be free movement on their turn, which can move right into your character, and then you're screwed, because if you get touched, you go back to start, which can help you but also hurt you, especially if you're trying to be the first to get your items. The game's a lot of fun. I've never played it with individuals who don't play board games that don't like this game, because it's such a simplistic game. It's such a tension building game, a family weight game, so anyone can play it. You can play with kids, can play with adults, and the strategy is surprisingly there. You really do have to get into the mind of your opponent, and it almost has that effect that I like in social deduction games. It's simplistic at its core. It looks amazing on the table, and I love the whole magnetic aspect of it. It's a lot of fun.
I was I
Hiccups,
told
man.
you
I'm
not to
gonna get them.
drink in between takes. That's the thing there. No, I think I said, because you and Luke from Down from the Attic both found this game at the same time, correct?
Does he? Does he have this game?
Oh, I
He
thought he did. Anyway,
he
I,
might.
I remember when I first saw it, I didn't know they did a reprint of this game. This is a re-theme of a game of the Mummy. It's an old German game. I played the very first time I got back into board games. This was one of the games he brought over. This, Formula D, and Zombies. And I remember playing it, but it was impossible to find back then. But I like the idea of the magnets, and it doesn't surprise me that you like this, because that is a cool thing with magnets on both sides of the board. You're trying to trap the mummy's trying to trap it, and Walker, and you're trying to avoid where the mummy is, and you're scared to death too. It's fake, double fake, guess, double guess. It's a lot of fun. So I'm glad it got a reprint.
Me too.
Made for a fun game. Hey, folks, my number 30 was number 82 when it first debuted on my list 3 years ago, moved up to 44, moves up again 14 points. Uh, Rado said it was one of the most underrated games out there, and I have to agree. It is Praetor. Praetor isn't. You have these dice that are workers, but you're never going to roll the dice, if that makes any sense. That's a boring cover. But,
Ooh.
oh, the game is there. Every time you work workers in certain areas on the board, they will graduate, meaning that one will become a 2 or that 2 will be a 3. If you see those little circles inside those squares, sometimes they have a background of red. that means the worker is going to mature. If it's a background of blue, which are at the top or in the middle three there, then they will not. They won't advance. And so there's this. So the bottom blue, the dice would not improve. On the top ones, you would. So why wouldn't you want all of them at a 6, right? 6 would be the most powerful. Well, when they're a 6, they get retired and they're out of the game. Plus, you still have to pay for them, though, is a thing. So it's about training new dice, getting new dice in there, getting their movements, utilizing what the pips on those dice. Where do I want them? Oh, I don't want to do this because if I use this 5, he'll have to retire after this. So let me use him this, but maybe I need him for one big action before he retires. There are different tiles that do different things in the game that can, as you see, the red is the retired worker. You can take retired workers out of retirement for one turn only. But the thing is, though, this game is also about buying these tiles. When you put your little marker on them, they become yours in the game. And as you see, some of these have a red, green, blue marker kind of on them. That means that's yours. Now, other players can use your tiles. They must pay you for them, though. And so it's getting those tiles that everyone's going to want, and everyone really wants all the tiles. Now, there's another cool aspect to this game. When you place the tile, you can place it at any orientation. That's why some of these are upside down. You're like, why are some of these upside down? What are some of these sideways? Because look what they're forming in the corners. They're forming a mosaic. And if it matches the other colors, you're going to get extra victory points for matching it too. It's just something extra they added to the game, which just totally enriches it. There is a promo pack on the Board Game Geek store. I got it. It's just extra player boards, different player boards, but because the game is double-sided player boards, so you can play more. But oh my goodness, so much fun. The more I play this, the more I love it. There are these. I think this is it. I think those are the wall. There's the wall tokens. They're hard to get, but if you can keep scoring them, you've got to stop someone from building up their wall. The longer the wall, the more victory points they score each time. Like the first time it's 3 points. The second time it's worth 6 points. So you see, and you can go. The third time it's worth 9 points. You put, every time you add it, you add up all the walls again. And I was rocking and rolling on the walls until they put a stop to me. I think it was too late because I ended up winning, but so I've seen ups and downs. We've had some amazing games with this one. Praetor, it keeps moving up my list. In 2 years, it's gone from 82 to 30. That's over 50 spots.
It looks fun. I'm not gonna lie.
This could be a top 20 game one year for me. I love Praetor. All right, so what is number 29?
29 is a game I told myself on the last list I did that it was not going to be on my list anymore because I was going to get the vintage counterpart, but it just had to stay on the list for a little bit longer. Survive, Escape Atlantis.
I forgot about this one.
But I do not want it on my list anymore, this list, because I want it on my vintage list because I love the 3D models and I like that one more for a few reasons. But the game at its core, this game, you're setting up your whole island. You are placing your meeples down, and in this version, you have meeples that are worth 1 to 3. Or actually, no, there's like 6. They're worth different value points. So you want to place yours, but it's also a memory game if you want it to be. If you want to get the most points, you can treat it as a memory game, but you don't have to. So if you're not great at memory, that still doesn't necessarily matter. Because you have to be strategic on how you get your guys off of the boat. So not knowing may actually benefit you in some instances because it means you're not going to focus on those characters. Because what you're going to do is you're going to move your characters X amount of movement, and you are also trying to get them on the boat back to the island to get them there safely. Well, while you're doing so, you can have whales to knock you off of the boat, sharks to eat you while you're in the water, freaking these dragon things. I forget what they are called.
Sea dragons.
Sea
monsters or whatever.
Disintegrate whatever you're on. Just everything in the tile, just poof. It's like it didn't exist. Delete from the game. Absolutely hilarious, by the way. But there's so many crazy disasters and variables that can happen while you're just trying to get off the island. If you end up in the water swimming, you go a lot slower. So you hope you can bring a boat close to you. And underneath each tile you left also has another element. Are you dropping a whale? Are you putting a shark somewhere? Would you get to choose where? Are you having a whirlpool that just
Yeah, I was
straight
going to say that, the whirlpool.
evaporates half the board? It's so ridiculous. It's so much fun. I love this game. I really do. And if you can't get the vintage, this game is still excellent. And I don't have the expansion. It's one I did kind of want, but I don't see this staying in because the 3D aspect of the vintage I just absolutely love. I don't see myself owning both because playing one over the other would never be. I would never choose one over the other. They're the same game.
Yeah, this game is truly amazing. And it doesn't matter if you got the 1982 version, the Waddington version, or the new version. It looks nice. They kept the game design. Obviously, the Waddington version is above and beyond
Just
anything
3D pieces. I like deluxe.
but even the 1982 or 84, that's great. It's a great version of the game. And I would have bought that had it not. I found this one first. But I looked at the vintage game. I was like, wow, that's great. It's awesome. I agree with you.
It is. Do
It's
you have the
mayhem.
expansion?
Say what?
Do you have the expansion?
Yeah, the squids and everything. Extra players. Yeah, you got to have it. Squids and squids can take you off of a ship. They don't destroy
Extra
the ship.
players? You
Say
can play
what?
more people in the new one? In the expansion?
Yes, it's 2 extra. I believe it's 2 extra players. You can play up to 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Dang.
And
So
then you can
good.
get squids that will take you off, take a person off the boat, but leave the boat intact. But by the way, when a whale or a squid move on to attack, one of them destroys the other. Whoever moves into that realm destroys the other one. So even though they're natural enemies, so you're using them to block other things from happening. Like if all your people are on a boat, dadgummit, I want to get that squid and knock out that whale. So you're kind of using them to attack each other, like the sea dragon. Doesn't he eat anything he
Yeah, it
moves
just straight
on?
wipes out the whole board.
Well, he
It's
wipes
great.
out sharks, I mean.
Yeah,
And
yep.
he wipes out
Everything
everything.
in the style.
So they made more characters like that. Oh, wow. Yeah. I'd love to play. One day I'd love to play as the 8 players. And Mayhem, Meeple's going to be dying, folks. Meeple's going to die in this game.
And the thing I like the most about the vintage one, which you could probably convert the rules for this, is every meeple is worth 1 point, which means that you're going to treat every meeple like it's valuable because you want to get the most off.
Well, in the new version, they have different values on them. But but you may remember, you may say, "Oh, I remember what this was." No, you won't. No, you won't. There'll be so much frantic mayhem, you'll forget what's where.
Yeah.
You will forget what's where in this game very quickly. All right. So my number 29 is a new game to my collection, and if Bernardo doesn't own this, when he goes out to buy it, it will be on his top 100 next year. I swear, this is a game right up your alley. It's Ketzel. Do you remember me talking about this game to you? You will when I tell you what the mechanic is.
Ooh.
Yeah, ready? It's Explorers, which you love.
Ah.
It's rolling meeples. You're rolling
that's
meeples.
Right.
And if you shake up the meeples in your hand, you roll them down the table. If whichever side they land on, they're double-sided. They can be dark or white. They are explorers or adventurers or archaeologists. And you can only there are certain areas on the board where you can only use adventurers or explorers. There's bidding on this one. You're bidding certain amounts of meeples on the board for cards at the bottom. You're trying to get special cards, which give you special abilities in the game. You're doing all this. You're doing all this wild stuff to try to get set collection of cards, to get on ships, to sell those sets, to get victory points, to grab first player. It's kind of simple. But if your meeple lands, and those meeples are great. Those are your uber meeples. They're like the ones that can always be wild. But if your meeples land standing up like that, now, if they're standing up and they're not on their feet, they're a wild, meaning they can be anything. But if they're standing up on their feet, you also get a coin on top of them being wild. And that is wonderful. It is kooky, crazy fun. I don't know how it was. This game was so low under the radar, even I missed it. And I usually never miss cookie games like this, that just, this game is so much fun. I remember exactly where I was when I found it. And I was like looking through something to buy because I was getting my car fixed. And of course, you need to spend more money when that happens. And I was like, what's this game, Ketzel? And then it was kind of newish, I guess. And then I looked it up. I looked at the pieces. I was like, well, that kind of looks neat because I like the adventure theme. And then I heard rolling meeples. I said, wait, you're rolling meeples in this game? Sold. I just bought it immediately. But oh man, this is a great game. When you get this game, Bernardo, I promise you, it will be on your top 100 next year. Mark my word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took a picture of it. I love the concept of that, and the theme is excellent.
Well, you like the adventure theme. Plus, I mean, you're thinking, oh, someone's going to try to drop them so they'll all be adventures. Or no, you want them to land on their feet, or at least on their sides. So they'll be a wild. But landing on their feet, you're like, ta-da, because it looks like the meeple's going ta-da, and you're going, yeah, and all you get is a coin, which does help out. But the thing is, though, it's so much fun. Ketzel, my new number 29. All right,
You
what's 28?
reminded me.
So what? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you reminded me of a game I forgot to put on my list, and I'm sick.
What game do you not love that you didn't put on your list now?
The Table is Lava. I love that game.
Why did you put it down? I thought you talk about that game all the time. You must not love that game. I'm kidding. I'm kidding with you. You're like me. I had Trogdor in the background when I was doing my top 100, and I even looked at the games around it, pointing to the games around it.
Me too.
And until I finished it, I'm watching my top 100, and I look in the background, and when I was pointing to the other game, I saw Trogdor. I went, wait, is Trogdor on my list? And I totally forgot about Trogdor, and I love that game. So, all right, what's number 28?
28 is going to be one that Luke showed me, and then you knew what it was at the same time, and I felt betrayed that you guys would hold such a powerful game. UFO Alarm is excellent.
What is the god king? UFO
Alarm.
Well, I played it before when the first time it went on Kickstarter and failed. It was not an official game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I played it when they brought it to Gen Con years ago to kind of display because they had it on Kickstarter, but then they backed. It didn't make.
Yeah,
but then when you showed it to me, I was like, oh, they got that game made? I didn't know that. Yeah, the guy's really nice. I thought it was a fun little neat concept.
So cool. It is a game where you have this giant spaceship. You have these little player pieces, which you each get one of each of the characters, whether it's a cow, a chicken, a farmer, and you are rolling die and you're moving your pieces. And some of the die can allow you to move the spaceship, which if the spaceship ever lands on one of your pieces, you push the top of kind of the crater of the spaceship and it sucks up the piece like a vacuum.
And I'm going to say these are made of like little foam, right?
Pieces? Yeah,
not foam, but what's it called? I can't remember the texture of it, but they're light pieces,
like a spongy material,
like sponges. Yeah, like little sponges.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this game as well, so you're essentially playing the last man standing. You want to be the last person on the board to win. And that makes it so fun because you're always going to be targeting someone the whole time. There's always a lot of back and forth. And there's nothing more funny than pushing the button. And no, it's not. It failed on you. It says it in the rules. It will bring it up, but it won't fully pull it up. And it will drop down. And it won't steal your piece. And there's nothing more funny than your opponent trying to screw you over and it not sucking it up. And then them turn back and like it bites you in the butt. So good. They put a vacuum in a piece of technology for a board game. That's absurd. I love this game. And every time I show people the mechanism, they just go berserk. And it's just a very fast-paced, laughing, like crazy kind of game. But...
Rightfully so. So. Yeah. I remember thinking, that's unique. But the Kickstarter was wrapping up right before Gen Con or right after Gen Con. I just totally forgot about it afterwards because I played so many games. But I'm glad they did get it made. All right, my number 28, been in my collection for 5 years now. Started off at number 53, then went to 54, then up to 33, then 26, which was the highest it's ever been. It drops down 2 spots mainly because of new games. And it's one of those games that came out years ago and then like over a decade later got an expansion that no one was expecting. Tobago. I think they did reprint this game. That's the good thing about it. So now it's kind of
Did they?
easier to get. Because when the expansion came out, I was like, what? This is a game hasn't been around forever. Now, Bruce Allen did not do the expansion. Someone else did, this is the only game he's ever designed. And I wish he would have designed more. It's an awesome game. All the pieces look great. Those Easter Island statues are made of rock.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're hefty little pieces. They're rock pieces.
Wow.
And I mean the games, and of course there's all the wooden bits I love, but the game spares no expense because what you're doing is you're playing cards and you're trying to find where this treasure is. And as you play cards, you're counting down where the treasure is not. So eventually you're going to find, and by the way, this board is double-sided, so you can flip and broken into 3 different sections. So you can flip it around one after the other and have different games every time you play. But as you're trying to decide where all the treasure is, you mark it where it is, with those cubes on the board. Eventually, all those cubes will be eliminated but one, and then comes the mad race as you take your little Jeep and race it across the board to be the first one there. Now, once you're there, the game is another game starts where now you are all drawing cards equal to the number of hints that you've given. I'm trying to find that picture, and of course I can't find pictures of the cards right now, but you're trying to draw cards equal to the picture, the hints that you got, or the first person there gets an extra card. Then you deal out one other card that no one sees. So you have a little inside information before you have to give back the 2, maybe 1 card, maybe 3 if you're lucky, cards, and then they shuffle the entire deck. And then in order of the first person to, find the treasure to the last person to leave a clue for where the treasure was, and going backwards from there, you pick up the first card, you say, do I want it? Yes or no. If not, you pass it to the next person. It's kind of like a Dutch auction. It keeps going down until someone picks it. Now, the reason why you kind of want to pick up a card really quick is there are these things called curse cards. You don't want, oh, there it is. There's the cards. The treasures could be, from 1 to 6 coins, which is good. But if you get that skull and crossbones, you can't pass it. You are cursed, sir. And you have to give up your highest treasure, which sucks. Now, there are these amulets on the board. I can't find one here. But every time, this is a crazy island where you turn those statues, 90 degrees, and then wherever they're facing on the farthest end next to the ocean, you place this little amulet. And these little amulets are all over the board. If you pick up an amulet, you have special abilities in the game, one time only, or what everyone keeps an amulet for is if they get that curse card, use the amulet to avoid the curse. Oh, what a fun game. Volcano is fun. It changes the game up slightly. It gives you penalties for grabbing those amulets, like the volcano starts erupting and lava tiles start falling out, destroying the board, blocking pathways, making the game a little bit more different, because now as it cuts into the board, certain forest areas, river areas, stuff like that change. The topography changes. When we've played Volcano, like I said, it's a different game, which is nice that expansion does that. Do you need Volcano to enjoy Tobago? No, you don't. Tobago is great as is, but Volcano is a nice little expansion if you care to add it. All right. 27 for you. What is it, sir?
27, and Tobago's one I want to add. But 27 for me is another Fantasy Flight game that they should have reprinted.
I'm listening.
But they haven't yet. Adventures Temple of Chalk. You thought it was going to be something you didn't know. Of course it's this one. So it is the adventure-themed version of the Duo, which should be Forever O. They should make an abundance of these types of games because they're awesome. And you are going through a temple to collect treasure and escape. While you're doing so, there's a bunch of awesome traps that go on. The first one, the wall slowly closing in on you, just like the movies, or a boulder starts to chase you, or there's a lava pit, which if you're an idiot and you actually walk on the lava pit, bless your heart. And there's
What are you talking about? I
also
always walk in the lava. Oh wait, that's why I die.
and then you have a bridge, which if you're fast enough to go through the bridge, you're lucky. If not, it breaks apart as they're walking on it, so you got to go a long way. And if the boulders past you, you got to take the risky play and swim in the water, which takes forever to get out of. That's like the worst option ever. But the game is a blast. It fits the Indiana Jones theme perfectly. I love it. It adds the traps, which I wish more games did that kind of thing for. Um, I adore this game. I've painted 90% of it already. I it's a game that will remain in my collection. Will remain one of my more cultivated adventure theme games. The only issue, it's out of print, very hard to find. They both have a pretty relatively high price point, which is unfortunate.
That is sad.
They need to reprint it, and they need to make more.
I'm glad I got this game before it went out of print.
Yeah,
That
you're
is
actually
sad.
the reason I found the game. Funny enough, I saw you talk about it on your top list. I was like, wow, he has good taste. What is this?
Yes, I have some good taste. Hey, speaking of good taste, let's go on to my number 27, which is much better because it's been a while, folks, since we put Queen Games on this list. All right, so let's see. My number 27 from Queen Games, been in my collection for 5 years. Start off at number 48, then went to 44, 53. Last year, it was 27. So it hit at 27 again. I guess it's found a home. Parfum.
Parfum. I remember this one.
Let's make some perfume, baby. Parfum is the perfume making game. This is one that has grown on my nephews over the years. I remember the first time I told them this, they're like, I don't want, they don't want to make perfume. And now when the game comes out, they're all excited because Parfum is great. You're rolling dice. You get a number of actions based on your turn, as you see here. First place gets the least amount of actions. Last place will usually get the most amount of actions. At first, it's a fight for last place because you don't want to go first. You want a lot of actions to build up your perfume bottles. You're trying to roll and match the tiles there to get some perfume bottles and make some perfume so you can sell it to this lovely stack of customers who want to get it. But after a while, the game gets fierce and you start going from, I don't want to go last. I need to go first because now you're trying to sell because whoever goes first gets to sell. They get a less amount of action. So as you can see, you move big bottles or small bottles of perfume. And as you're selling it, you're trying to match it up with those customers at the top of the board. Oh man, this game can swing so much. I've never seen anyone fight to be last place, but people will fight to be last place. And the good thing about me is I think last game I ended up winning because they kept giving me first place. And I was always last on the track, but I always go first in the turn because everyone wanted those extra actions. Well, I was barely last because I started selling. And when I started selling, I started catching up and then ended up winning the game at the last minute. Woo! I've got the very rare Queenie to this. Essential Essences, which is not necessary, but it is extra dice in the game. It's not just your average cheap looking Queenie. And I'm glad I have it too because, it makes the game just a little bit better. But this is an awesome game, which is why it remains in my top 30 at number 27. All right.
Okay.
What is number 26 now that the adventures do not have any other expansions?
Number 26 is a game that was in my collection early on. It was one of my first reviews that I've done. In fact, it was the second review I ever did. It is going to be Dragoon by Lay Waste Games. It is a game that every time I play it, I remember why it's in my collection. It is a strategy, abstract strategy game, kind of ish. So you have cards that you got a hand of cards, which you have abilities and certain actions that you can play. So you can play any number of cards. Some cards have to be waited till a certain condition is met to play, but you get an X amount of actions. Now, the cool thing about it is you're trying to move around to claim different territories which show up. Now, this is where you hear a lot of the reviews go a little bit in different directions because you're rolling 2 dice to determine the coordinates in which those tiles will appear in the beginning of each turn. Now, while that doesn't sound like the most exciting thing since it sounds random, that's never dictated any part of the game. At least not for any of the games I've played. I'm not sure how people are running into issues with that. If the tiles land too close to one individual's kind of starting cave, then that just means their area is going to be a target, which is relatively dangerous for them. So I've never seen someone get lucky to where they get all the tiles and win the game. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of interesting elements in terms of obviously luck because you're rolling a lot of dice, especially when it comes to whether or not you're claiming gold or you're getting screwed over because you're putting your little castle pieces on each one of those kind of village areas, and for each one roll you actually get points. However, you share and your opponent can win points if they also claim that same area. So you really want to kind of control the board. You want to know when to destroy certain villages so you collect the points for that village rather than and give your opponent, let's say, 1 point or whatever it's worth, rather than let them keep recurring points each turn. There's a lot of interesting strategic points. It's on this nice cloth mat. It's really organic feeling. I actually have the ghost ones, which are like kind of see-through, clearish. It's a lot of fun. It's really hard to sell the game because it's so simplistic. And I know there's a lot of argument in terms of luck, but there is indeed strategy in this game. And it's, I believe, my highest rated lay waste game that I have here. So I'm a big fan of this one.
Yeah, I remember you going. This is one again. This is another one I just have to play.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember in your review you were very impressed with this game.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressed. All right. Hey, speaking of being impressed, my number 26. The first time I played this game, you talk about Cult of the New. I remember the backside of my brain blew out of my head. It was number 4. This is what? How many years ago? 5 years ago. Was number 4. Then it dropped to 14. Then 27. And then the new version came out. It went up to 23, but it got pushed down 3 spots. And I think that's because 1, 2. Yes, there were 3 games above it that got added to the list. That's the only thing that pushed it down. I played this game a lot. You know what it is?
Project Elite. Let's go.
Baby. Go, baby. I love Project Elite. I'm not a CMON or Come On fan. Don't really like their games. This one takes the ever-loving cake, though. The minis, fantastic.
I gotta play this, yo. This upsets me seeing this again.
You've never played? You haven't played this?
It'd be on my list, high on my list, if I played this even once. I am so sad.
You got this with me, didn't you?
I did.
You've never brought this to the table?
I got caught up painting it, and then I'm terrible.
This is real time dice chucking.
I know.
It's co-op. This breaks every rule of co-ops for me. Like I told you, my board game group in the past hates co-ops. Hates co-ops. In a heartbeat, we'll play Project Elite all night long. If I bring it out, they will play it. That is the exception of the rule. The game works really well. CMON did a great job with the minis. They did a great job with fixing some of the things I did not like about the original, even though I told Bernardo this. I almost played the original this year, and I still may do it. As of this video, the year's not over yet. We had brought out the old version of this to play because I asked him which version, and my nephew goes, the old version. But then one of my gaming group goes, wait a minute, there's a new one? And we went, you've never, because I thought he'd played it with us, and he didn't. So I said, guys, do you mind if we bring out the new one? They said, no, sure, go ahead. Oh, man, this game is a beast to play. It is so much fun. I really hope they come out with more. I haven't heard. This is massively successful for them on Kickstarter. So I'm hoping they're going to make more. I don't know, but I hope they make more of this because Woo! What a great game. Real time mayhem. Project Elite. I thought this would be one of our crossover. I don't know what's wrong with you. You had never played it. It's been out for over a year now. All right. I played this game so many times, but the
Rubbing
worst
salt on the wound.
expansion, the worst expansion, and I'll do it again. We ended on it, and it was kind of I think I'll play other expansions before I play this one again. Death Valley, even though it's got that impressive centipede, it's just got those disappointing. There's a few disappointing things. The weapons in Death Valley that you shoot once, but they only shoot in a straight line. It's really hard to hit.
I
It's
like
not
the
worth
maps though. I really
It's
like
not
the
worth
map.
spending. The maps are cool. It's not worth spending the money. And then the towers, which is a great idea, but no one wants to get up on those towers because it's just not worth it. And so we've tried to change the rules to make it, we've changed it a lot now. Just try to get someone up on a tower, but it's still not worth it for most players to get, which I like the idea of that, but no one utilizes that. So, but Project Elite, the first time I played this at Gen Con, I was like, oh, I've never seen this before. I was just so enthralled with it, and I still love it. CMON fixed. The problem I had with the old game was, first off, how you died. This one's done a little bit better, the injuries and stuff. But then, secondly, your starting weapons. It was so random in the first game. You could get stuck with. You could have a short range guy who's good at short range combat, but he started off with a long range weapon because you just randomly doled out the weapons. I hated that. So this time the weapons are more balanced. The game is fantastic. Project Elite. All right, 26. What's 25 for you?
25 is going to be a classic. Get ready.
I'm ready.
Suro.
What?
Suro. Tsuro. I actually have Of the Seas, so if you can show that one.
I'll get that one up. Yeah, I played Tesoro before. Yeah.
I picked the Seas one because they said it added another element, but you can just play regular Suro without the dragons. I do that. I don't play with the dragons. I do like the boats and stuff because they look nice and they're swimming through. But essentially, it is a game where you have 3 tiles and you are dropping a tile to move your boat across the path. You want to be the last boat standing. So the path, there's a bunch of paths on each of the tiles. So when you start to place them and get closer to your opponents, it can actually start to move them across the path and potentially move them off the board, which is the goal, to be the last one standing. So you want to basically knock everyone off of the map. So strategically choosing your placement on where you go, like how far out you go into the board, how close, when you pass through certain things, you're making so many plans and decisions ahead of time. I love this game. I love this game as a 2-player game. I love it as a 3-player game, 4-player game. Maxed out, it's not my favorite. I would say 4 is kind of where I like to have it because it gets a little too chaotic when you have too many people. But the game is excellent. It's a relaxing, chill strategy game that just so satisfying. That's the best I can say for it. And the piece looks great.
It looks great. The art design's great on this one. I played the base game. I've enjoyed it. I didn't add it to my collection, but it's a game that I would always play. A game that I would always play. All right. Hey, I'm making up for this because I didn't mention a queen game last time. So I'm doing 2 queen games this time. In fact, this one is so good, I'm putting it on twice. It's basically the same game, just different rethemed. You are the man who told me about this game, and you said I had to get it. I did. It is ranked here, debuting at number 25 in Queen Games. Escape, Curse of the Temple, and Zombie City. Now, between the 2 of them, I'm not sure. Probably Curse of the Temple, but I will promise you this: that Zombie City one is hard. I would start someone off on Curse of the Temple first and then play Zombie City next. Curse of the Temple, I got the big box edition. So I probably should have put the big box edition up here. But I do have the big box edition with all the expansions. This is just the base game I'm showing. And as you see here, again, real-time dice chucking. I didn't realize this, but this and Project Elite are back to back. Real-time dice chucking here where you're trying to get symbols on the board to move to different tiles to get rid of cursed gems, and then of course to do what the box says, escape. And as you're doing this, you're playing an app, on your phone, or a CD if you got one of the earlier ones, and you're playing that music, and it's so much fun. It really gets intense, especially Zombie City. Zombie City, and this is a co-op game too that I just love. But Zombie City is a little bit harder, I think. What you played them both, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think the zombie one is way harder.
It's
Just
way
because
harder.
there's like other there's like an objective, much like Temple, but there's also variables of zombies that are attacking you, and they can just be dumb powerful because you just pull them out the bag, and it's like, oh
Oh
well,
yeah.
gotta run.
Oh man, but the soundtrack for this is so daggum spooky.
Yeah.
So spooky. And my wife played this game with me. She played this Curse the Temple. She loved them both, but this one pissed her off because, of course, you can freeze in terror when a zombie's on you and not get to roll your die because they can stick, and so she hates that. But she was more into Curse of the Temple. But she did know this one just aggravated her because we couldn't beat certain things, and we had a hard time. This one's way harder than Curse the Temple, but I do enjoy this one as well.
Hmm.
I played both about evenly right now. I played Curse the Temple a little bit more. Now that I think about it, I played Curse the Temple a little bit more. And for real time dice chucking, you were right. Awesome game. Awesome game. Glad to add it to my collection. Number 25.
It's a dang good one.
All right. We may even see that again later on. Okay, what is number 24 for you?
Number 24 is a Japanese game, actually.
No?
It is a game I found by accident and it looked cool. So I tried it and I'm glad I did. Because this is, I believe, and I thought I knew this the last time, but I believe this is the highest ranked 2-player game in my collection. It is called Korora. So how you spell it is going to be Koura. And this game came out 2017, but it is I can't even say it's like an abstract strategy game. You have these little tanks and you have dice. So you start off by rolling your die, you put the die in those tanks, and that actually is going to dictate movement. But you also have certain certain numbers that move in specific directions. So that can really screw you up because your opponent wants to try to take out your tanks. And they can take you out by kind of bumping over your tanks. So rolling the die and choosing like when to roll the die, when to change what positions it can go. Just it matters so much. It's simplistic in its core. I've translated this. I have a review actually already recorded for this one, funny enough. I love this game. It's a perfect simplistic game, and it's one of those things where I've even considered like getting like a cloth mat and printing just the board itself just to have it as like a little mini pouch you can carry because it could be a pocket game.
Yeah, it's one of those tiny games.
I love it. I love that the dice fit in the little tanks.
Yeah.
So fun.
I remember when you saw this and you were ordering, you was like, yo, guess what I got? And I was like, I don't know what this game is. I never heard of it before.
It's
But I
sick.
remember you were very excited about this.
I didn't know
Very
how much I would
excited.
like it, but it's been getting a lot of play.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it definitely looks cool. So yeah, great. Good pick. My number 24, been in my collection for 5 years now. First year it was number 56, got the What Was I Thinking award. It has been in my top 20. It was number 13, number 15, number 22. It inches down 2 more spots, and that's because, yes, there are a few new games above it that pushed it down a little bit. So it is the one and only Versailles.
Oh,
Oh, Versailles, where the whole game board is one giant rondelle
oh Lord.
and you're moving around it. And it is so much fun. You're going around moving your men around the board. Whenever you move to a certain area, you take that action. The action, kind of like in Architects of the West Kingdom, it depends on how many other meeples you have, depends on how powerful that action can be. As you're going across the board, gathering resources, using those resources to build little garden tiles that you're going to put in the middle of the garden area here, which I'm trying to find a picture of. That's gold. They're showing every area here but the middle. There it is. There's the garden. And as you're placing the garden, even the garden tiles can look a little bit different because as you orient them around the board, they can form different areas. So the garden will always look different too. My, oh my, what a beauty of a game. The game ends when you build the entire garden, or, which just recently it's been ending this way, the king makes it down the path, which is so, I used to think it was impossible. Like for the first, I don't know, 3 years we played this, we never had that ending, but for the past 2 years, that's been a lot of the times, oh no, we finished the garden one game we played this year. But a lot of the times the king has been moving down the path just because everyone's trying to build up for their big, the big end game play. And the game rewards you because if you have unfinished tiles, usually the game doesn't reward you for it, but at least you get a victory point for those, and which you would have gotten way more victory points playing it, but at least you get a victory point for those. And for certain decorations, depending on how hard it was to convert those, you'll get some big points as well. So even though if you didn't win once the game ends, if you're not winning the game, if it's close, those extra points can push you to the lead. Even though in our games, I got whooped badly and I had tons of extra points and it just made me get whooped barely instead of badly.
Hmm.
It didn't give me the victory. You have to keep the game close to have those extra points count. But oh, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. You love rondelles. Like I said, the whole board is basically just rondelle. You can only move clockwise, and only 1 or 2 people at a time can move. Oh, Versailles. Lovely, lovely. My number 24.
I see it on some lists. That's a good one.
These games are just getting better as we move along. All right. What's 23 for you, sir?
23 is a game you can play in the dark. It is a game not many people own. It is a game I want to bring to the light, much like it does for my table, the Lark Lamp. I love this game. It is such an aesthetically pleasing strategy game that I envision playing it like if you're going camping, you're going on the beach, outside game, inside. It is as close to an organic board game as I think you're gonna get. So it is this lamp that
Wait, what's it called? Oh, wait, what's it called? I was
Lark
looking at the
Lamp.
wrong
Oh,
one.
LARKLAMP, all one word.
All right, hold on. I gotta look it up. I thought you were going to talk about something else.
Mm.
Lamp,
Play in the dark.
Lark.
Yep, LARKLAMP. One word, I believe.
It's not on Board Game Geek, so just go ahead. Hey, LARKL
AMP. Yeah, it is.
Lamp, Lark Lamp. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, I must have spelled it wrong. Then let me put this up here. I'll look it up. Keep talking about it.
Yeah. So essentially, it is a game that has these.
Oh, there it is.
It is almost like it's a four-sided kind of rectangle. It's meant to look like one of those lanterns, and you have these plastic pieces that can slide into the individual ends, which when the top piece has the light come on, it projects it onto the table like you see there. Such an amazing piece of visual, and you have these wooden pieces, and there's different games you can play. I have not only the base game, but the expansion, which I think I like the expansion a little bit more, but there's something about the base games that I love with like the Sin Trap. So one of the games you are like these villagers who are trying to get back to their main home, but you have this shadow creature who's trying to steal your dreams, and they can move through the dark shadows while your opponent has to move through the light. And what you can do is you can use actions to rotate the panels, which changes the orientation of the board, or switch the panels. and it allows you to kind of move around the board to try to take out your opponents, or if they're able to get to their home bases before you win. It is such a beautiful, elegant game. It looks amazing. There's an abundance of different games you can play with it, and I'm sure if you're creative enough, maybe you can create your own. I wish this game got more love. It funded on Kickstarter, but it's not really known in the board game community, which is crazy to me. I think it's just such a perfectly elegant game. It's exactly the type of game I look for, and I hope to run into another hidden gem that it's as hidden as this one, because this should have
It's
never
pretty
gone under the
hidden.
radar.
Yeah, I know you talked to the designer, right?
I haven't yet,
Oh, you haven't,
actually.
but he was talking about doing extra, more expansions for this, right?
It said it, but that was such a while ago. I don't
Yeah,
know what the
it's
plan is.
been
I want to
five.
talk
What?
to
That's
him.
2017. That's 4 years ago.
Yeah, I
That's
need to talk to
sad.
him.
Yeah, no. I now here's the thing. You've deep sixed another one. There's three that I thought were going to be in your top 10 now. I thought Larklamp was a top 10
Ooh,
because I remember you just kept talking. You kept having ideas. You were just blown away by this concept.
it's good.
So no. It's definitely unique. I will give you that. It's definitely a unique type of game. My number 23, been in my collection for 4 years now. It started off at number 23. This is crazy. I just noticed this. So it's back where it began on my list, even though it was a top 10 game a few years back. It was number 8. Then it moved to
Oh,
number 12. It was barely outside my top 10. And now it's fallen back down to where it began. Boy, what a voyage of Marco Polo.
oh, I have not
Voyages of
played this.
Marco Polo. Again, it is dice placement as you are moving around, gathering contracts, trying to move your caravan to establish certain tents to get access to certain vendors, to get special abilities. Nice little wooden dice there because, of course, I love the wooden bits. Um, you've got secret objectives. You're fulfilling contracts for victory points. There's so much going on with this game. It does have a sequel called Marco Polo 2, and basically it's just a 2.0 version of it. They added Jade bits to it and did a few other different things to it, but the base game alone is really good. I have not played it. I played with the little mini expansions, but the extra expansion I do have, and I have not played the extra expansion this year now that I think about it.
Oh wow.
I've just been playing the base game, and I don't think I played Marco Polo 2 this year. I think it's just been regular Marco Polo the times I brought this out. But
Mm.
whee, what a fun game. There's the special abilities you can get in the game. Yeah,
It's a classic.
Voyages. Say what?
It's a classic. I've never played it though.
Oh yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's a ton. You can always play on top of someone else's dice as long as they are higher. But
Hmm.
anyway, yeah, it's like I said, lots going on here. Basically, you're collecting goods, trying to fulfill contracts, trying to move your man across the board. There's different ways to get bonus points in the game. So different paths to victory I like as well. But yeah, Voyages of Marco Polo, back at it at my number 23. All right, we're at number 22 for you. I'm excited. What is number 22 for you?
Back into the horror board games.
Oh boy, here we go.
A game that was my number one favorite horror board game of all time. Hiccups are back. It's
Where's
over.
my pearls to clutch?
But now it is number 22.
Okay.
Horrified. Simple.
Horrified.
This is going to be a Prospero Hall board game. It was released by Prospero Hall. It is an excellent game, and it uses all the famous Universal monsters. You have Dracula, the werewolf, hiccups are killing me. The Mummy, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, the Swamp Monster. The game is excellent. You don't play with all the creatures, so you kind of interchange which ones you want. Different ones have different difficulty levels. Like they recommend starting off the game with Dracula and the Swamp Monster, which I absolutely love those. This game fits thematically those creatures really well on how you take them out. like with the Wolfman, you're trying to get the formula for lycanthropy. For like the Invisible Man, you're trying to prove his existence to the cops.
Huh.
Dracula, you're trying to burn all of the coffins. It is super thematic. It has a lot of really good strategic elements, but some interesting random elements because you don't know what villagers are going to come out because you also have to protect them. Because if the monsters end up killing too many of the village people, then that also makes the game a lot harder for you and you can lose. It is a very, very difficult game, to be honest with you. It isn't the easiest, but if you start with Dracula and the Swamp Monster, you'll do relatively well. But once you start to get into like Frankenstein, and the Wolfman, it gets really difficult. But I love this game and I love all the Universal monsters. So if you're a fan of those monsters and you love horror games, this should 100% be in your collection.
Let me ask you, didn't this come out with an expansion? I want to say it did. American Monsters or something?
It wasn't an expansion, it was a
Oh.
standalone game. And
Oh.
I didn't buy it because all of the reviews, and I looked at carefully, looked at the cards. They're right. It's literally just a carbon copy with the American monsters. There is no real
Oh.
difference.
Oh, that's
There,
sad.
it is sad. It's unfortunate. It's almost like they could have just put those characters in this game. But if it's their way of reprinting it, if people don't like the Universal Monster and they prefer these, get that one 100%. It's literally the same
What's
game.
different with the American monsters? What
The
monsters are they?
I don't.
Are they
I'm
different?
not
I
too
don't know what
familiar.
other
Like
monsters there would
Chupacabra,
be
I think was
besides
one of
the
them.
what?
I think Chupacabra was one of them.
Who would care about those? It seems like those are the B monsters, man. All the classics are in the first one. You can't get any
Some
better than
people
that.
have so many games that have those monsters that like having those different monsters is just
Mm,
nice to have. I can respect it. I
yeah.
just I wanted something different, but it did
Mhm.
save me from having to buy another game. So
There you go. All right. Hey, my number 22, folks, is been on my list for 5 years. Start off at number 40, and it's always gone up. Wow, I didn't realize this. It went 30. Then it was 24 for 2 years. It's never gone down on my list. Went up 2 more spots. It is a trilogy of games, even though they're all different. You can play them together if you want to. I've never done that yet, but I do love each game individually. Century, Spice, Road. I don't. My favorite changes up a lot every year. I am a big Eastern Wonders fan, even though I probably played the base game the most this year. And even though the New World has my favorite mechanic, worker placement, it is not my favorite of this trilogy, though I will happily play, there they are, all three. But Eastern Wonders may still be my favorite. Though to be honest, I did play that. Like I said, if I played the base game the most, I guess that's my favorite now. But yeah,
is that the
easy
Splendor
game.
Killer?
It was supposed to be the Splendor Killer for a lot of people. And I've never played the whole expansion, I mean, the whole, combine them all together or combine two of them. You can combine any two or combine them together. I said I wanted to, but now I just have so much fun because each one is different. Each game is different than the other ones. And it's got some metal coins. So I'm not just all about the wooden pieces.
Wow,
But yeah,
upgraded.
the
I see.
first one's basically card play is dealing with cards. The second one's dealing with cubes, or you're trying to improve your little player board. The third one is worker placement. Like I said, I love that one too. I'm down to play any of these, but yeah, Century Spice Road is so much fun. So much fun. All right. So there you go. Number 22 for me. So now we're at number 21 for you, sir. What is 21?
A game I'm confident should be on both of our lists. I thought you might actually be the crossover. I don't know where it landed, so we'll find out.
Okay.
It's a game we both found from Luke. I was unsure about it. I got it to the table. I fell in love with it. King Domino with the
Oh yeah.
expansion. Yes, I actually do prefer it with the expansion with the giants. Whew, hiccups are really destroying me right now. But It is a tile placement game at its simplest form. You are creating your kingdom, and it is a 5x5 square. Easy enough. However, you get more points when you have connecting areas, whether it's water, sand, grass, dry lands, and you only get points if there's crowns on it. So you want ones that have more crowns to amplify points, but you also have to pay attention to your opponents' boards, because if they end up getting too many points in one area, that screws you out. So you want to make sure you block them away from ones they have. The reason why I like the giant one so much is because it punishes you for picking early, and it also punishes you for also picking late. Because if someone gets a giant token, which will have an amazing amount of crowns a lot of the time, it will put you last, but it'll let you put your giant on top of someone else's board. However, the ones that have giant feet on it are the ones that put giants onto yours. So there's a lot of back and forth. I like the fact that you can sabotage people's boards by having the giants to cover up their crowns. The game gets a lot of play in this household. A lot of people love this game. It's easy to get to the table. It takes seconds to set up. Nothing more I could ask for. I forget it even has that little chart board because we never fill it out. We just do it with a calculator.
Yeah, we do too.
But it's excellent. The game is awesome. I haven't played Queen Domino. I don't really have much of a desire to, because I found a game that actually is a little bit higher than this one. But
well, yeah, it's a little bit more included. My nephews are the same way. They will not play King Domino unless it's with Age of Giants. They love that their Age of Giants is on. The Age of Giants is in there. They love messing with the other players.
Heck yeah.
Queen Domino, I did not play as much as I did King Domino this year. It's still a fantastic game. Still a fantastic game. Still lovely. I'm sure. But yeah, King Domino's good. Didn't make my top 100 this year, but definitely a good game. And Luke, same thing. Luke convinced me to buy it. And folks, don't let the simplicity or the little look of it go. No, it is worth it. My number 21, been in my collection since the very beginning of my list. For the first 2 years, it was in the top 10 at number 8 and number 10. Dropped to 42, then 47. Then it got a revival in 20. Last year went to 21, and it stayed right outside my top 20. And I played this game a lot. Just got a scenario version for this game, played it. And then after the scenario is done, I say, do you guys just want to play regular Catan? I don't know if you've played Catan before.
I don't know.
But do I have to explain how it goes? I mean, this is kind of one of the most simplest games out there. That comes with several expansions. I got to play through, which one? One of my favorite ones is Traders and Barbarians. We got to play through that one. I'll be honest, we played through the newest, I can't remember what it was. It was the newest Dragons and something. Knights and Dragons or something like that. It was the expansion or no, scenario version for Knights or something. And for something else. It was for something, I don't know. Just an expansion of scenario expansion. So we got it because I was like, oh, right on. Dragons and Treasures is what it was called. Dragons and Treasures. Like, yeah, I want that one. And it was all right. It's basically Explorers and Pirates. It's just more scenarios for Explorers and Pirates. And then every once in a while we have dragons. A lame use of dragons, too, for one of those. Out of the 6 scenarios, only 2 use the dragon meeples. Why would you only make 2 using the dragon? And one of them really sucks. And I was like, that's really dumb. One's run away from the dragons. And the only, they force fit Knights and Seasoned Knights in there, which I really don't like that expansion. But everyone loves it, so we do play it. That's everyone's favorite expansion but mine. But man, when we were playing this, I said, you know what this makes me miss? I said, Explorers and Pirates. And they're like, yeah. I said, you guys want to play Explorers and Pirates after this? I said, sure. And I'll be honest, it kickstarted my love for Catan again. Because if it hadn't been for that, Catan may have fallen a little bit. for me. But even the base game is great.
That's all
So
I've ever played.
I'm telling. Well, I mean, you need to get Sea Rock. No, what's the first? What's the next one?
Seafarers.
Yeah, Seafarer. You need to get Seafarers because I think you would really enjoy that. It expands the game. It doesn't change much of the game, but it gives you way more options, which I think you'd love. All right. Hey, there you go, folks. Come back next time. We're going to do our top 20, and it's going to be amazing. How many crossover have we had so far? Just 3 still? I don't think we had any crossover here.
4, didn't we?
Did we?
Maybe not.
Maybe not, but we will, I'm pretty sure.